Hi, my name is Stephen Bronk. I'm a soloist at the Deutsche Oper Berlin, where I've been singing for the last 13 years, and singing professionally for about 42 years now. And I would like to talk to you about what I call components of vocal management. For those of you who have been kind enough to watch these installments, you may have looked at the last one and asked yourselves, what is he doing? Because I showed a certain practice that I myself use daily, and that is an integral part of my singing technique. Just to recap a little bit, the idea behind it all was to take a breath as if you're yawning, so the larynx lowers down naturally. And at that moment, when nothing is happening, okay, whether you're neither inhaling nor exhaling, you just say, ah, very, very simply, okay? So it's, ah, okay? Clear my throat. Just like that. And then the idea was to just kind of feel this sigh of contentment, you know, this, life is wonderful, so good to be here, this is wonderful weather, whatever, you know, and say, like that, okay? And then to take back the volume enough so that this happens. Okay, now, again, this is what I use for singing, and you can make use of this yourselves. But what's the idea behind it? Okay, in order to explain that a little better, I'd just like to introduce you to a voice teacher that I had after I'd been singing for about a good 10 years professionally. I was introduced to a voice teacher named Herbert Meyer, or Mayer, depending on where you come from. Herbert, at this point in his life, was about 74 years old, I believe. He was born in 1914 in Frankfurt, in Germany, Frankfurt am Main, and he was born into a Jewish family, which, as you can imagine, became very difficult in the 30s. And he was a very, very musical child. His father played piano and he learned the piano. His father also played cello. His sister and his mother both played violins, and they made a lot of music at home. One of the frequent visitors of their home was Richard Strauss, the composer, and he didn't actually come there as a composer, but more as a card player. But of course he did realize how musical this young man, this boy, was, and so he urged him into a musical curriculum. So Herbert wound up studying with Rudolf Serkin, who at some point said to him, you know, you should choose between piano and conducting. I think you have great talent for conducting. And so he became a student and assistant of Felix Weingartner, very very famous conductor at the time, and very quickly became kind of conducting wunderkind. At 24 years of age, he was already conducting in all of the major Eastern opera houses, Budapest, Bucharest, Belgrade, and also into Switzerland and southern Austria and southern Germany. And it was when he was to go on a tour with the Bucharest, I believe, opera house to Germany in 1938. That was the time to leave the country, which he did. And he wound up in New York and quickly became a conducting and pianistic celebrity there, which led him to take troops on tourneys throughout the United States. But it kind of left him with a bit of a vacuum. But one of the things that was most Herbert was most interested in was, just like conducting, is how do things work together? How do things work at all? And as he would say to me, one of the things that he always found confounding was that asking an instrumental musician how the instrument works, how they do certain things, what do they do in order to get certain effects, etc., etc., they would always be able to say, you know, I do this, I do that. And when it came to singers, very often the answer he would get was, well, I just open my mouth and I sing. And that was not really enough for him. So he began to delve into that. He began to look for singers who could explain to him what exactly it was that they were doing and how it worked and how they got the effects that they wanted, etc. And he was very, very interested in this. And by the time he had come to New York and been working on Broadway and been working with singers from all walks of life, he found that this was a true passion of his to teach, although he himself had not been a singer. But one of the main things that Herbert brought into the studies was he had an excellent ear, and he knew exactly what it needed to sound like, but not only what it needed to sound like, but how to get there. One of his favorite lines was, singing is easy. Finding the place where singing is easy, now that's the hard part. And so when I met Herbert, I was skeptical at first. As I said, I'd been singing for 10 years. I cannot say that I was always 100% happy with what I was doing, because I was still looking, as I am today. I keep my ears and my eyes open. And I was worried that if I started working with somebody, I might mess up my technique, and it would make life a bit more difficult for me. But as it turned out, it was serendipity. Herbert and I hit it off really well, and one of the first things he had me sing after we had gone through a couple of exercises and he had explained a couple of things, one of the first things he had me sing was the singer's aria from Rosenkavalier, which, as you know, is a high tenor part. And I can only say it was it was terrible in terms of quality, but I sang it. And he, as he pointed out to me, he said, you see, nobody wants to hear that from you, but you did it, you sang it. And this is what this is all about. It's about using your voice, finding where it is exactly that your voice fits in. Now, some people have very expansive ranges. For some people, it's often difficult to define what it is exactly they are as a singer. Am I a dramatic mezzo, or am I a dramatic soprano? What exactly defines these things? You know, am I a dramatic mezzo, or am I a contralto? Am I a soubrette, or am I a coloratura soprano? Tenors, the question for some baritones is, am I possibly a tenor? For some tenors, it's do I have that top that I would like? Basses am I a real bass, or am I a bass baritone? Do I go more into that? And what Herbert would say to me is that, well, in male voices at least, he would say, what I do is I work with bass baritenors. So what you do is you explore the whole range of what it is that your voice does, and then within that framework you find out exactly where it is you fit in. Okay? What is best for you? There will be people who say, okay, well, this depends on where the break in your passaggio is, and it's not quite as easy as that. Okay. After meeting and working with Herbert over a period of about 2 years, not regularly, I would work with him for a week in New York, and then I would come back to Germany because I was working there, and then he would come to Germany and we would work together somewhere for a couple of days. Then he would go off somewhere, come back, we'd work another couple of days, and just went on and on over the course of 2 years, until his very unfortunate and sad passing during the time that I was singing in Saarbrücken, and he was there to visit. So, what did Herbert have to say about these things? Well, first of all, a couple of just foundational things that he would say. If it feels good, do it. Okay? It may not be technically the best thing you should be doing in keeping with a certain technique, but it's going to get you there because it just feels good. So you should do it. Get rid of the guilty feelings that you may have, opening your mouth and letting go of something that just invades the space. So that was one of the very important things. Another one, of course, as I said, was singing is easy, finding the place where singing is easy, that's the hard part. And he would talk about the balance of chest and head voice. Now, these are, again, as I said in an earlier installment, we work with a lot of metaphors because what is happening inside of our bodies is not visible. It's at times not even, you can't really feel what it is that's going on, but you can sense it. So we work a lot with sensations. Talking about head voice and chest voice, these, once again, these are metaphors for something that physically, in the physical realm, okay, do not really exist, but we feel them, okay? So the whole idea behind this technique that that Herbert imparted to me and to many other singers was how to find the balance between the head voice and the chest voice and keep that balance going throughout your entire voice, your entire range. Now, some of you may think that's easy enough. Just take half of chest voice and half of head voice and keep that going. Well, that's not exactly how it works, because physically, this is not how we are made. The human voice does not function like that. It much rather, instead of a line like this, as you can imagine, chest voice and head voice, and keeping this equal at all times, that's not going to happen. But if you tilt it a little bit like this, and you have the chest voice here, head voice here, you can see how, following a certain line, you are keeping the two of them in balance by letting each one of them take what they need. I will be putting up a graph of this so you can take a look at it. Usually I make a little drawing, but and just to be clear, as you can imagine, if you think of this diagram, which I will put up, there will be a certain point along the way where both the head voice and the chest voice are equal, okay? Because if you've got a graph like this, okay, and like this, there's a certain point where the two parts are equal. And that is the point where the passaggio happens, okay? And it is between C4 and G4. And this is for everybody, okay? Each of us has a unique voice. Each of us has their ideas and their sentiments, their emotions, and all of these things, physicality, that make each and every one of us unique. But we do share certain attributes. We're human beings, okay? And as such, this does not change, okay? Between C4 and G4 is where the passaggio happens. And this is for men and for women, same thing, okay? So the idea is to get in and out of this part, which Herbert loved to call the cemetery of the human voice, and not break, okay? So it's actually the whole idea behind the passaggio, to pass through without having something break. So again, I'll just to show you how this works then. So you have this I have entered into the cemetery already. All right? So what I'll do next time is I'll get into this a little more. I'll put up the diagram so you have an idea of what it is I'm saying here. And as always, I look forward to your comments, to your suggestions, and most of all, to your questions. And as always, I'm Stephen Bronk, and whatever your musical genre is, I'd like to help.